Whether you're looking for answers to specific life questions or simply hoping to become the best version of you possible, welcome to the Mental Breakdown and Psychreg podcast, where we offer insight, information, and strategies based upon research and years of practice as psychologists. So sit back, have a listen, and get connected with our hosts, Dr. Berney Wilkinson and Dr. Richard Marshall. Welcome back. Richard, today we're going to talk about part 2, attention with toddlers. And so this is all about how we interact with our children after their first birthday up until about the time they start school.
Right. Age approximately
2 to 5 or
about
so.
2 to 5. There's that funny period. You know, we think about baby has her first birthday, and then there's that 1 year, and then they're 2, but they're so we're really talking about 2 to 5, not 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not that there isn't important stuff happening from 1 to 2, but it really begins at 2.
Right.
And it really begins at 2 because after the second birthday, there's this enormous explosion of new neurons.
Right.
And that sets into motion a set of skills, a set of abilities that you're going to notice in 2 ways in children. One is you're going to notice the terrible twos.
Right.
Because the terrible twos are the time when kids start to become independent and start to say no.
Right.
And no doesn't mean no, I don't like you. No means no, I can do it myself.
Right.
Because now they have the neurons to do it themselves.
Right.
The other important thing you'll notice is this rapid achievement of developmental abilities.
Right.
This is when parents say, my gosh, he's learning so many words and he's so brilliant and he has such a wonderful memory. And all kids have. I mean, it's because of this explosion of neurons at about 2.5 that kids have these very impressive cognitive abilities because they have this explosion of new neurological material that they're able to take advantage of. So you have a baby at age 1 is barely learning to walk. By age 3 can run and ride a tricycle.
Yeah.
Okay. And by age 5 is playing organized sports.
Right.
Okay. So there's this rapid achievement of developmental abilities from 2 to 5.
Right.
The point of which is to get ready for kindergarten.
It's all about getting ready to learn.
That's what this is about. 2 to 5 is getting ready for kindergarten.
Yes. So yes, during this period of development, we have a couple of things that we really have to consider. The first is, we spoke yesterday about the fact that you can't really spoil an infant.
Right.
Well, that changes after the first birthday. By the time the child is about 18 months old, so about a year and a half old, the child's cognitive development, because of that wonderful explosion of neurons, neuronal growth and connection that's happening around this period of development, because of that, no, manipulation is a possibility.
Now it's possible. Now they're beginning to put 2 and 2 together, and they're saying, if I do this, I can get this.
Right.
Infants don't do that.
Right.
Infants just, as we said, have their hands full, staying comfortable. Now, some of this manipulation can occur.
Right. Yeah, in the first year, they start to get very, very basic cause and effect. You know, if you tie a string to their leg and they move their leg and it can wiggle the rattle that's hanging above. They can start putting some of those simple things together. But as far as complex, like thinking, anticipating, and thinking about, A to B to C, that doesn't happen. After 18 months, it can start.
Right.
It can start. So we have to start, adjusting some things to the point where we're, being mindful of the idea of the possibility of manipulation.
And this manipulation is most obvious in a temper tantrum.
Right.
I mean, that's when kids, they say, oh, I know how to get what I want.
Yeah.
Throw myself on the floor, scream and yell, turn blue, and I'll get what I want.
Yeah.
And that's where it is, where it appears, where it's most obvious is with a temper tantrum.
Yeah, absolutely. But the overarching theme of this chapter is that just being in proximity of your child, just being there is not enough.
It's not enough. Correct.
You have to, during this stage of development, continue to be actively engaged with your youngster. You know, parents often talk about I'm there. I'm there in the living room, and all they have to do is come and interact with me and let me know that they want to interact, because it doesn't really work very well at this stage for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons really is that parents often discourage kids from doing that. If you're sitting and watching television and your toddler comes in and keeps requesting your attention, many parents get frustrated with that, and they'll say, just go play, just go do this, just go do that. And so we're shooing them away, and they're really seeking to have that connection. And so we have to be mindful that we're not just saying that we're present, that we're available for them, but we have to also make sure that we're engaging them.
That's right. We talked about this explosion of neurons. The reason parent-child interactions become so important from 2 to 5 is that children will keep the neurons that they use, okay? And they will prune off, because you're born with 100 billion neurons. By age 8, you're going to have back to 100 billion neurons, okay?
Right.
You're going to keep the children will keep the neurons that they're using. So if you want your children to develop all of their capacities, their motor abilities, their language abilities, their cognitive abilities, you have to put them in circumstances that allow them to use those things. Kids who are left alone, the worst example are kids who are left in very poor orphanages, and they're understimulated. Those neurons will be produced at 2.5, but most of them are going to die off. Children of poverty who have very limited exposure, those neurons are going to die off, and they're not going to bring those abilities to kindergarten.
Right.
Okay. Whereas children who are in highly stimulating environments, preschools or homes, they keep those neurons and develop those abilities.
Right.
So it's absolutely critical that parents are directly involved. When you talk about part 2 of this book is about interactions, and to me, this period from age 2 to age 5 is probably the most high intensity. It's the time when you should be most engaged with your children.
Right.
Of all the developmental periods that we talk about,
Right.
this period from 2 to 5, and in one part of the book we talk about the inverse relationship between age and engagement. The younger the child, the more engagement, the more interaction you need.
Right.
As they get older, they need less and less.
Right.
But this is the time. If you're going to invest in a child, 2 to 5 is the time to do it.
Absolutely. And the information in this section mirrors in many important ways with chapter 2 from the behavior management part 1 of the book. And especially as it relates to how do you attend when your child is having a temper tantrum? What do you do in those kinds of situations? And so a lot of this, there's a lot of overlap here, because what we do with our attention here is going to set the stage for much of what's to come in later stages of development. So we have to be mindful that, again, we're not just being close by, not just being there, but we're also engaging, interacting, offering opportunities to stimulate that neuronal growth and those connections throughout the brain, but also help being there for them as they are working to develop that self-regulation that we were talking about earlier.
That's right. And we say, and so many times parents say, well, what am I supposed to be attending to during these years? Well, by the time a child gets to age 5, by the time they're ready to begin kindergarten, they should no longer have temper tantrums. Right. They should be able to clean up their own messes, and they should be able to play well with other kids.
Right.
Okay? Those are the 3 things that you're trying to accomplish. Those are the things that you should be attending to and teaching your child how to do, because those are the 3 skills that they're going to need when they get to kindergarten. So that's the focus of your attention. All right. But this is a teaching process. Yeah. As a parent, you need to teach this to children. Yeah. That's what preschools do. That's what you wonder what your kids are doing in preschool. It's not just about letters and numbers. They're learning these 3 very important tasks, which lead to a healthy emotional development. Right.
Yeah. One of the things, and it's funny because as you were just talking about that, one of the things that came to my mind is, this is a great stage of development to help your child learn how to manage disappointment, to handle losing. When you're playing a game, how many times have we seen
right.
Preschoolers or kindergartners or even first or second graders who cannot handle losing at a game?
Yeah, they start throwing things and having temper tantrums and
they'll try to cheat and they'll try to do all these things to engineer a win. If during this stage of development the parents were able to handle those things,
that's right.
Teach them, we don't win all the time.
You don't always get what. That's a song, isn't it?
It is a song.
I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to start singing.
I almost burst into song there.
That would be fantastic.
No, you can't. Kids need to learn that sometimes you lose and sometimes you win, and you have to be able to handle both. Okay, and you don't always get to have everything you want when you want it. Children need to learn that no, you can't always interrupt. There are times when you're going to have to wait. Okay. It's called waiting your turn, which is going to be an important skill for kindergarten.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, these are things that have to be taught. They don't happen automatically.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the key features of Chapter 2 from the book. And I think that's it for today.
Right.
We've been announcing that but by the time the book is released on January 31st of 2018 on Amazon as a Kindle book, if before then you write a review for the podcast on iTunes, so there's a link in the show notes. Click the link, write a review on iTunes. We will send you a free EPUB version of part 2 of the book. Yours to keep. Why not?
It's a good deal.
Yeah,
it's a good deal.
So there's one little piece to it that is a little bit of a headache, perhaps. If you write a review, there's no way for me to contact you. So make sure that you go to the website, thementalbreakdown.com, and there'll be a link where you can contact us. Just send me an email and say, hey, this is my email address. This was my user ID. I wrote a review. Send me my book, and I'll send it to you. iTunes just doesn't have a way inherent in the system that I can contact somebody who wrote a review. I suppose that's in there to protect the reviewers to some extent, but it makes it difficult.
Oh, that makes sense.
In this kind of situation for us to be able to contact the reviewer so that we can, give you your book.
Right.
So email us through that link in the at thementalbreakdown.com, and we will be sure to send you a copy of the ebook right away.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. That's it for today. So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, don't forget to be afraid. Thanks for sharing this episode of the Mental Breakdown and Psychreg podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to follow us on Twitter and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you will find all of our previous podcasts and much more. We would be honored if you would become a patron through patreon.com, where any donation you can manage will go to the development and creation of more content. Just visit patreon.com/thementalbreakdown for more information. Thanks again for listening. Have an awesome day, and we look forward to being back in your feed tomorrow morning.